Greetings. My shopping buddy, Christy, I did my face, tagged me to do the accent tag, so I wanted to go ahead and do that. I love accents. I'm an English professor. I've had some linguistics. I love to study accents. I love to listen to accents. I think accents are really, really cool. Of course, when I'm speaking Portuguese, I really don't like my accent at all. I wish I spoke without an accent, which would be kind of impossible. But nonetheless, in English, I have an accent, I suppose. My accent isn't all that interesting as accents go. Some background: I was raised in California in mostly rural areas. I did my master's work and my PhD work at the University of Illinois, so I spent 5 years in the cornfields. I love the Midwest. I really enjoyed my time there. Finally, I have been in Kentucky since 1987, and I have picked up some Kentuckyisms and some Kentucky patterns in my speech. One of my favorite Kentuckyisms is knee-high to a grasshopper. As in, last time I saw him, he was only knee-high to a grasshopper, and now he's gone and he's taller than I am. I just love that expression. I think it's so much fun. When I first came to Kentucky, I did have some problems with the accents and the speech patterns. I, of course, was fine when I was in the metro areas. They're really probably not metro areas if you live in New York City, but relatively speaking, Lexington and Louisville are our larger cities. And so when I was there, I had no problem understanding people. But the minute I traveled out into the rural communities that had not only accents but unique ways of expressing things, I sometimes found myself startled and not quite understanding. It was worse when I was on the phone. I had a hard time understanding sometimes when people were speaking on the phone, and I'd ask them to spell for me, and it was even harder sometimes to understand. But over time my ear adjusted, and now I can't imagine not being able to understand those accents. The harder part of Kentucky speech for me to get used to was the pauses. Kentuckians like to tell stories. They're wonderful storytellers, and we have many wonderful writers and poets, because Kentuckians pay attention to the cadence and the sounds of speech, and they love to tell stories, and they have wonderful stories, and they're so good with detail. I sometimes think there's something in the water, just like there's something in the water limestone that helps the horses grow big and strong here. We have something in the water in Kentucky that creates poets and writers. But at any rate, there is a speech pattern that was difficult for me, and that is that Kentuckians have these long pauses. So somebody can be speaking, and then they will stop. That for me was always cue that I should jump in. But the minute I jump in, they'd start talking again. And what I had to learn was a kind of patience as a listener, because in Kentucky, when people tell stories, they'll frequently take long pauses, and you get used to just being a listener, and you wait a good long time before you jump in. That was a difficult thing for me to learn, but I think I've sometimes learned it. My natural tendency still is to want to interrupt. I was raised in a big Portuguese family. We screamed over each other all the time. We thought that was quite normal. If you don't butt in, you're just not going to be heard. I'm married to a New Yorker who is equally as accustomed to butting in. I mean, it's just the way we are. We just kind of hop on top real fast, in terms of speech. My elder son got used to that. My poor younger son is really not like that at all, and he used to be in the back seat sometimes of the car, and he'd say, "Can I say something?" And we'd all kind of wait. And then we'd give up and just start talking, and he'd go, "But it was my turn." And I always felt kind of sorry for him because he didn't get as many opportunities to make himself heard. But let me get to the tag questions. First of all, there are a list of words I'm supposed to say. And the first is aunt, as in A-U-N-T. And I know it's supposed to be aunt. And my aunt used to correct us all the time, but we always said aunt. Again, I grew up in California. I was born in the LA area, but I was born in the area of LA that was actually rural at the time. As soon as it closed in with population, we moved up to the center of the state. My father liked farms, even though he was not a farmer. None of my friends said aunt. It would have felt like we had heirs, so I say aunt. Root. or route. I say them both. Christy, I Did My Face, had a really interesting logical distinction about when to use route or route. I have no such distinction. I am indiscriminate. I use one, then I use the other. Wash, oil, theater, iron, salmon, caramel, fire, water, sure, data, ruin, crayon, toilet, New Orleans, pecan, both, again, probably, spit and image. See, I've been in Kentucky for a while. Alabama, lawyer, coupon, mayonnaise, syrup, pajamas, but I would say PJs, cot. I know it's supposed to be caught or some strange sound, but cot. I was in linguistics class and they tried to teach us the difference between the way you should say cot and cot, but I have a very broad sound. That's from California. Naturally, aluminum, envelope. Trying to think if there are strange words. I know one. My husband says radiator for radiator. That's a strange one. I don't know, New York, maybe. After that list of words, there were a series of questions. What is it called when you throw toilet paper at a house? That is TPing a house. What is the bug that when you touch it curls up into a ball? I call it a pill bug. My children call them roly-polies. What is the bubbly carbonated drink called? Soda. What do you call gym shoes? Tennis shoes. My husband calls them sneakers, and we've been married 21 years, and I find myself saying sneakers, which I never used to say sneakers. What do you say to address a group of people? Greetings. I have a tendency to say you guys, and I do not like it. I absolutely do not like you guys. I feel like it's a weakness of the West Coast that we never figured out a plural for you that wasn't sexist. I am jealous of all the regions in the states that actually have a plural you form. For example, yous, you will hear, or you all. And the one thing I learned very, very quickly, people in California often think that you all is what you use for you, and they will use it, for example, to address people in the singular, which seems abundantly strange to me now. But there was a time when I just thought you all was a Southernism, and I would look at somebody and say, oh, you all think I was being clever. But in fact, you all is very, very distinctly plural. You, plural, you all, or y'all. What do you call the kind of spider or spider-like creature that has the oval-shaped body and the long legs? That would be a daddy long legs, unless it's a cave cricket. Ooh, I hate cave crickets. They're very sweet, they're very docile, they're very jumpy. Daddy long legs at least just crawl. Cave crickets hop. Yuck. What do you call your grandparents? Well, my grandfathers were not alive when I was born, so I never had grandfathers. My grandmothers, I had one Portuguese grandmother and one non-Portuguese grandmother, but my Portuguese grandmother insisted on being called the exact same thing as my non-Portuguese grandmother. So we used to have to use their last names, like grandma this and grandma that with their last names. A little cumbersome. What do you call the wheeled contraption that I use to carry groceries in the grocery store? Well, I only know one word. It's a grocery cart. What do you call it when it rains and the sun is shining? I call it rain. It might make a rainbow. Oh, here's a Kentuckyism, and I love it. When there's just a little bit of rain, like it's not rain proper, and so you say, is it raining outside? And they say, no, it's just spitting. I think that's kind of appropriate. Nope, it's just spitting. What is the thing you change the channel with? A remote. Or, I'm old enough, a dial. That's it for my accent tag. I don't have a terribly interesting accent, but it was fun to do the tag nonetheless. So thank you, Christy. I did my face for tagging me. I was wondering if I was going to get around to do this, and I did. I have one really exciting piece of news in my life, which is that I got a new desk. And for a nerd like me, a new desk is like getting a new notebook or new pens or new books or new bookends. Oh, I love bookends. any of those things, only it is that 100 times squared because it is a desk. So I'm going to pop in a picture of my new desk. It's an architect's desk, and I am in love with it, and I am right now filming on top of it, and I adore it. Oh, I just love it. That's my excitement. I hope everyone has a great end to the week. Thank you so much for watching. Bye.